Hi guys, the following interview was with my longtime friend Matt Rawls. Matt was a reconnaissance Marine from 1996 to 2004, and he served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was also part of the Blackwater and Triple Canopy high-level threat security in Iraq and Israel. In this interview, we talk about the parallels between serving in the military and Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. While there are a lot of things in common, there are some big differences, but the parallels are really fun to discuss and share. I've known Matt since I was 18 years old. We worked together at 24 Hour Fitness, and it's been really great having him as a friend and watching him develop over the years, especially seeing him develop into a great musician. He talks about finding his passion in music as both a singer and a songwriter. We have a really great time. There's a lot of great nuggets in this interview, and I hope you watch it all the way till the very end. First question, and this is a pretty serious one.
Okay.
Are full sleeve tattoos a requirement to be let out of your military obligations?
You must have at least one sleeve.
Okay.
And probably a neck tattoo of some sort above the collar, which...
Do you have neck tattoos?
Well, I got one up here.
Okay. You have the bare minimum amount of flair.
I almost got kicked out because I got it while I was in the Marine Corps, and anyway.
I feel like you've had tattoos as long as I've known you. I've known you for how long? 22 years, maybe?
Yeah, about that. Since what, 2000? No,
99.
99? On there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 22 years.
Did you always have this many tattoos?
No.
Okay. But you had some.
I don't think that I had any when I first met you.
Really?
I might have had one, but that was it.
I just feel like you've always been a mean-looking tattoo guy.
And then I've got the rest, like, throughout...
Life,
yeah.
Painful memories or good ones?
Both. Good ones and bad.
They're good. I have friends that have tattoos that got them after too much alcohol and too much sadness, and I was like, "Why'd you get that?" "Oh, it was stupid." Like, why didn't you just wait till the next day to get it? So I feel like you put thought into yours. So that's good.
Yeah, I generally like to have like a whole plan for a body part. Like my whole back has a plan. I do know what you're talking about.
Right.
That guys. Have
you ever been that guy?
I have not.
Okay, that's good.
Not to stereotype, but guys that are like, "Oh, I love her so much, I'm gonna get that one up there."
Yeah.
And then they're divorced or broke up the next day. So yeah. I've been pretty careful about that now.
That's good. That's better because there's one step lower, and I think that's where you're like really into Beavis and Butthead, and you get that tattoo, and then you grow up and you're like, maybe that's probably not going to be good for a job interview.
But a cool trend. Well, I don't know if it's cool or not, but a funny trend is like guys are getting just whatever the hell, like all outlandish shit. Like one tattoo that I want to get is a skeleton mariachi riding a bomb.
Of course.
But playing that makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
But
does it mean something to you?
It means something to me, yeah. Like,
yeah. I think that's all that matters. Like you should have a story you can at least tell yourself, even if it doesn't make sense to the person watching. I think that's what I like about tattoos. I like asking people like, what is that? Because like JP has one. I don't have any. I don't know if I'll ever get one, but both the one JP has, it's real significant, but you have no idea what it is. It's kind of an abstract art piece of musical notes, and because he likes to play guitar, so that means something. But if you look at it, you don't know it. It looks cool,
right?
But it doesn't
And sometimes the tattoos don't mean anything. It's just that they like that piece of art and they put it on. And I can identify with that. I can look at a piece of art and go, man, that's really cool, and
like, what does that mean? Like nothing.
Yeah, and people are okay with their bodies that they want to show that piece of art off, so that's why they get it, sometimes. And I'm kind of one of those guys, like if I see something, I'm like, oh, that's really stupid. I'm going to get that. Because people are going to ask you, like, what? Like you're saying, like, what does that mean? Absolutely nothing. But isn't it cool?
I feel like tall people have an advantage because you can have more tattoo room.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you're really small, you got to really decide the tattoos you want because you can only fit a few of them.
And you got to be careful with the artist too because your limbs are longer, so if they, so like when they have an image, they'll blow it up, but if that image gets stretched to fit
right.
a body part, then it doesn't turn out right.
When I remember you, because you were working out a lot, putting on some weight. Does that stretch your tattoos?
Nah, not really.
No?
Okay. I haven't noticed anyway.
Okay.
But I haven't grown that big though. I mean, not
significant. Yeah, you haven't like put on 200 pounds or anything.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. Now an actual serious question.
All right.
So just giving a background, what are some of the most significant skills and lessons that you took from the military into like the civilian world? What do you think some of those skills were?
I mean, obviously, I think it's leadership, number one. That's an obvious one. Leadership, you've got to learn how to follow, then you've got to learn how to lead. And you've got to learn different leadership styles, Some people aren't going to, some people are not going to react to the same type of coaching, yelling at you or coddling, one of the two. And it's a lot like raising kids, to be honest. Like, you've got to be delicate in a way, but you've got to be harsh at some times, but you've also got to show compassion,
Right.
And so leadership is probably one of the biggest ones. Organization, still to this day, I've got to leave stuff in front of my face or I'll forget it. I've got to stage it.
Yeah.
Before I leave, and man, I could go on and on, honestly.
How do you? So
patience is another one. Patience is.
So that's interesting, because I feel like there's such a contrast with the leadership required for combat and warfare, the leadership required to be a good role model, for kids or for the job that you work. Like they're both levels of leadership, but one is there's no. Like you said, there are different ways to do it. But
right.
I feel in the military, it's like, hey, there's one way to do this. We got a mission, to do.
Right.
Is it difficult to turn the volume down on that with a mindset that's a little different?
And you're like, okay, so like I come from, I'm a reconnaissance Marine, which is a special operations background. The leadership, and we're in a team, so the leadership is a little different. It's a team atmosphere. As like a major, like a line company, you're just going to kind of do what you're told.
Right.
But if you're a good sergeant, you're going to have some input. Like, what do you think about this? Like, shoot some holes through it. Kind of like you do jiu-jitsu. Like, this is what I'm doing. What do you see wrong with it? Same thing when it goes into planning a mission. This is the plan laid out. This is our objective. This is what we're going to do. Are there any questions? Any concerns? Any ways to do it more efficiently? And some guys will chime in. Some will say, "Nah, man, looks good." If you ever listen to Jocko, like when he says, "I," one thing I listened to was, he was like, I would do my briefing and be like, "So, what's the mission brief?" Well, we're going to go through that door. We're going to kick it down. We're going to shoot all these guys, and then we're going to leave.
Yeah.
Basic.
Right.
Simple. You understand what you have to do.
Sure.
Sure, there's some nuances on how to do that. But that's where your training is already, taking care of those nuances. Like, kind of like drilling. You drill this meticulous stuff all the time. You're like, why the F are we doing this? Well, when it comes time, and you're out there coaching, you go, all right, go ahead and do that shotgun pass. Shotgun pass you know what to do. You don't have to say, place your leg here and put,
your body has done it so many times that it's going to do it without thought.
And the same thing with breaching the door. You've done it so many times. I've heard of even guys like doing mission workups blindfolded and all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know if that ever took place, but
sounds awesome though.
Yeah, it sounds really cool to have loaded guns and being blindfolded.
I will start a self-defense class and try that.
So, keeping things simple, and the same way.
So how do you decide who gives feedback? Because I'm trying to tie it to like a jiu-jitsu class. Everything is sort of theory, and I imagine in combat too, it's theory to an extent because you don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
It's like in jiu-jitsu, like, hey, here's some proven methods to achieve a goal, but a real flexible, strong, wiry person this may not work against them. And so you encourage feedback, but there's also sometimes like a white belt who's been training for
That's
4
exactly,
weeks. You know what I mean? It's like you
No,
should just do the basics, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, and your mission planning is the same thing too. It's proven methods, like from wars past. This is what they did. This is what the Romans did. This is what the Spartans did. This is what we did in Vietnam, World War II, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
You can read case studies, and it may not always turn out that way. The best movie that I've watched that depicts this is probably the movie about where they killed Bin Laden. Like they try to go in and breach the door, and the door doesn't go down all the way. And
What's it called?
I think it's Zero Dark 30.
Zero Dark 30, yeah.
So they're making all this noise, and that's really how it goes. It doesn't go as smooth and ninja-like as most movies portray it. That is how it goes.
Yeah.
Nothing runs perfect. So the same thing for like jiu-jitsu, and just like in jiu-jitsu, you're not going to take. You may or may not take. You're not going to be a complete jerk about it, but you're not going to completely take feedback from a white belt. Just like you're not going to take complete feedback from a new guy.
I just wonder if there's is there a level where I guess this is maybe it's more of a feel like when you reach a level, you kind of know that your feedback is well received because you're closer to a particular rank or an officer or something.
And you've been there and done it before.
You have enough connection with those people.
And maybe you were on another team, and this is how y'all did it, and were successful. So you know. The team leader is going to go, okay, what's this? Okay, so you did it that way, and how did it go? And so maybe you'll take a piece of that and implement it into the plan.
Right.
Same thing with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I always think about sometimes in jiu-jitsu there's this idea, like I think some of the jiu-jitsu fighters today are the best that there have ever been, right? Just because something you mentioned, you're talking about like, well, this is how the Romans did it during this war, and a lot of these. Generals have studied warfare from hundreds or even thousands of years. Well, the advantage that modern athletes have is we have all the greats that came before us leading up to this point.
Right.
Now, with that comes sometimes you can be a little bit spoiled, and
absolutely,
yeah. Oh, well, because I remember starting and there were not. There was like one black belt in Texas. Jiu-jitsu guys today, I think they think it's always been this good in terms of how many black belts and how much knowledge is available, and not just the number of high-level people to train with, but access to information with the innovation of like the internet. All the information is available, and so like in war, it's like there's so much technology where, war is horrible and terrible things happen, but there are ways to do it, and plannings that didn't exist in the past, where everyone had to be on the field fighting with like a spear and knife. I can only imagine that.
And the Marine Corps keeps that. We keep the same doctrine as the Spartans used to, like holding the line and a phalanx and all that stuff. But it doesn't. Nobody fights that way anymore, right? You don't see long lines like you did in World War II. Us going to their line, etc. We saw a little bit of that in Iraq, but not to the extent that you did in like World War II or World War I. And just wars aren't fought that way anymore. They're not. They're fought. It's all guerrilla warfare, and it's in the streets, and it's not out in the open. It's real deceptive.
It's like, so I feel like there's a parallel there between real war, military combat, and martial arts, because they're connected. If you go back, martial arts was created for combat. These techniques were designed to dismantle and kill warring opponents, and over time, as wars started being fought with weapons, the martial arts stayed alive because of the benefit to how it transformed the individual.
Yes.
Right. So would you say the same thing? Like, there are benefits to that type of training, even when the fighting may not be done that way anymore.
Right. No, there are definitely benefits to that, and even in law enforcement too. And we can go there in a minute because I've harped on that. But anyway, but yes, in warfare, there have been instances where guys have come around the corner and run right into the enemy, and then it's hand to hand, and then, well, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you know what to do in that instance? You know,
Right.
take them down and do whatever.
Mhm.
Or if you're right there, you shoot them. You know.
Yeah.
But it's very necessary to learn that stuff. I mean, Marine Corps has always been about, and the Army too. You know, they're about their combatives. You know, the ground fighting and stand up. But what I was going to say is that okay, so Rhett used to train.
Yeah.
My brother Rhett, he was also in the Marine Corps. He used to train. He trained with Hickson Gracie over in Hawaii when he was in the Marine Corps.
Right.
And anyway,
Hickson has his new book, by the way, is really awesome. I don't know if you've seen it.
Uh-uh.
I just finished it. It's so fantastic.
but the story he tells, I don't know if he's a blue belt or not. I don't know if he ever made it to a belt, but he trained and he was pretty good. He's an athlete like me and played every sport. But we talked about, he got heavy into doing Muay Thai. Went over to Muay Thai to Thailand and trained in a couple of camps and hadn't done jiu-jitsu in years, Right. And I was showing him some things of recent. He was like, "What is that?"
Yeah,
because he'd been away for 10 years, and I
Yeah.
said, "Man, things have really, really changed." Like kids they're inventing all kinds of stuff now. And I said, but the funny thing is like, you always come back to the basics.
Yeah.
The basic root of what the move is. You always come back and rely on that. I said, but you can, sure, if you drill something enough and you can do some fancy things, as he calls them. But what you're going to rely on is your basics, your very, basic root of the move. So, and it's the same thing in warfare. Like,
they're universal concepts.
They're universal concepts, and you can always come back to, well, if it's a line against a line, and this is where we're at, then we know how to do that.
Right.
We've done that before, so we know how to do it. Hold the line,
Yeah.
So, it's you know how it is. It's a cycle. It's a circle. It always comes back around. And
well, the thing is, there might be a thousand ways to get to someone's back, but once you're there, you want to stay there.
Yeah.
Because it's a kill position.
Yeah.
It's a position of extreme control and advantage where your opponent has limited use of their body and is in full defensive mode, and you're in prime position to choke them.
Yeah.
Right? So you see like the Barambolas and the Worm Guards and all these things,
Yeah.
but most of them have the intention of ultimately taking a dominant position.
Yeah.
Because once you're there, then it's like things come back. Like, can you hold the mount?
Yeah.
And when you're mounted, can you withstand that pressure and work your way to safety?
Yeah.
Even when the methods of sort of how to get there have changed and evolved and become super efficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those fundamental positions are still what make the match, what gives you the win.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so opposite question. I asked you, like, what are some of the skills and lessons you took? What are some of the things that don't translate? Like, what are some of the things that are unique to military, whether it be just the culture or the way you interact with people or anything like that?
It's definitely the way you interact. The humor is diabolical compared to your average civilian. Like, I'm not going to get too graphic.
No, you can't.
too explicit, but that does not. I kind of translate. Like, you can get like when you're rolling with fighters, they understand it. I think that those are all the same kind of people.
Yeah.
I really do. Whether it's a fighter, whether it's a trained warrior, whatever. They're all trained warriors, but it's all the same type of person.
There's something that seems to me that when you share very difficult, trying times with somebody, the trust grows so much that you can share the darkest type of humor and know that the other person, like, you're basically saying, like, hey, sometimes my brain goes here and I trust you with this information. I think you'll laugh. Don't tell anyone else. Right? You know?
And but sometimes those people don't exist within that world. Some people are sensitive to that.
Right.
It's few and far between as far as my experience goes. But most time, you can whisper in a guy's ear, and some sweet nothings, and they'll laugh. You know? And if he does it to me, I'm going to laugh too. And it's just how it is. You don't mean anything by it. But same thing walking down the street. You mentioned something of the same just graphic and explicit and horrible, details, and they're cracking up.
Yeah, right.
You just get it.
Yeah, I think it takes a special type of, I guess, sense of humor. Which the thing I like, so especially now, like I feel like the landscape and the climate of today's culture is hypersensitive. Where the last kind of safe refuge is comedy.
Yeah.
Like comedians are the only ones that
and that's
can,
barely even
a lot of them, even like you
safe.
see like Kevin Hart coming out and sort of like going on this long public apology
Yeah.
for something he did in front of a large group that everybody laughed at.
Right.
And I feel like it is literally the healthiest thing that people can do together safely is laugh. Because what's healthier than for you to your mind than to laugh at the realities of the world, and to actually look at it in a way like, oh man, I never thought about that. That might even be kind of dark and twisted. I'm not doing the thing that I'm joking about or supporting it, but it does exist.
And let me bring it to light.
Yeah, bring it to light and say like,
and let's laugh at it.
We got to deal with this, but in the meantime, we don't have to be miserable. We can laugh,
Like, here's this thing. Let's laugh at it. Let's identify it, but let's not, let's not keep repeating it. Let's not be that way.
Right.
And I've had many judgmental cases, as you can imagine, against me. Like every time I get pulled over, I get 2 or 3, cars that come to support and pull me over.
Yeah, you look dangerous.
Yeah, like Aryan Brotherhood, right? I'm like, no, I'm not.
I just got tattoos and
and a shaved head. And I just shaved my head. So anyway, but yeah, it's funny, but. The other thing about that is I was talking to somebody. I was talking to you about it. Like, poor among the races is the same person, really. Same lifestyle as far as, like, making a sandwich. If you don't have anything else to put between that bread and mayonnaise or mustard or ketchup or whatever it is you got, then that's what you're going to eat. And that's what people do. They survive, one way or another.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that's something we share, and I think it's humbling, but there's a lot of gratitude that comes with growing up without. When you get it, because I grew up a similar way. Like we grew up like single wide mobile home, parents divorced, very difficult to meet. For
those who don't know, Travis and we grew up very, very, very poor. So
we got great.
But great upbringing.
Great white trash jokes. No, but I remember times where it was like, you just kind of ate the food that's in the house
whatever
because you got to eat, and it was okay. Even though there were plenty of jokes to be made, and I remember as a kid, I had friends that were, whose parents had more, and it's easy to convince yourself like, oh, well, my life's unfair, and it's like, well, I'm kind of poor in America, which is different than being poor in India.
Yeah.
Which is different than being poor in Brazil. Like, I went and lived in Brazil. It's like, I saw the poverty there. I was like, oh, I had it fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm okay.
Like, this is totally okay.
Yeah.
Still able to do plenty,
and that type of upbringing teaches you a lot. It makes you, it makes you a fighter, for one. And I don't know, I was never that way, like, oh, he's got more than me, or, whatever. I was just like, shit, that's something I don't have. Okay. Well, let's just keep going with life.
Right.
And one day I'll get it. Maybe. If I want it, then I'll go get it. I'll earn for it.
Yeah.
Another problem with society today, everybody wants it now.
Well, that's something I think with another parallel with martial arts and with the military is you don't have the satisfaction of instant gratitude.
No.
I mean, you don't have the, what was I going to say? You don't have the satisfaction of instant gratification.
Right.
So that's like one of the parallels between both the military and martial arts, and particularly jiu-jitsu, is there is no instant gratification. Because you have to go through a lot of hardship just to get through to the next level, which requires even more work.
Right.
There's no instant gratification of being a blue belt in a week or a month. You're going to put in the time, and if you want to be a black belt, by the time you reach that level, you're going to know that was earned on the mat with a lot of focused, undistracted hours of drilling and effort.
And that is that is especially true at Team Tooke. You get your blue belt at 8 years, so
that's not true.
Just be ready for that.
Only if you take time off to go to war. Don't do
No,
that.
yeah, it's funny because as a white belt, you just want to get your blue belt. You just, so anxious for it. And then once you get it, you're just kind of like, I really want to know more about this jiu-jitsu stuff. Like, I really want to know more about this game or that game or how to improve here. And you completely forget about a belt, honestly. I do, and I know a lot of other guys and girls feel the same. It's like you just forget, and then you really begin to enjoy.
You start thinking like a martial artist.
Yeah, you start thinking about situations and things like that. Then it becomes fun.
The same thing actually happens at black belt. I remember getting my black belt, and it was like the time between black belt and present day. I've amassed so much more knowledge of the game than from I'd say blue belt to black belt. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you're a white belt, you know nothing. You grow exponentially fast because you're just adding knowledge immediately. But then you get kind of a base understanding of the position. So between blue belt and black belt versus between black belt and 15 plus years as a black belt, it's night and day because I can remember the difference of understanding then versus now. And it's really just, it kind of becomes, it's a humbling moment to sort of start to feel like, man, I'm actually competent enough to know that I don't know that much. You know what I mean? Like I can't
exactly
nail this into place and say this is 100% true.
Yeah.
Nothing really is. You have to always be looking for ways to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. Which reminds me, why don't you ever do the Crucible anymore? How me and Caleb got our blue belts?
Yeah. Well, now I do the event, the Warrior Crucible event, which is not like required, but it's encouraged for people going through that. I think the thing is I know you said it's hard to get.
Yes, I think.
But that actually depends on the person because some people will drive them away before they get to that point. He's talking about when he got his blue belt. I put him through.
Me and Caleb.
Yeah, I put him through hell. I usually, what I've done now is I just stretch. Instead of one day where you might have a heart attack.
This is me and Caleb are the only ones I have ever seen at this school. I've been at this school for a while, and we are the only ones that I've seen put through this. I mean, I know he knew that we could take it, but oh my God.
You're hardcore.
Oh my God, that was ridiculous.
Now I try to stretch that out a little bit. I try to go put people through a little bit of a torture session over the course of weeks because my concern is I don't want to give anyone a heart attack now.
Me and Caleb were close.
I did that to Mark Malfa and I was like, man, he's not looking so good.
He's looking kind of tachycardia.
I
should have put a heart monitor on him. Oh well.
Yeah, just a little bit more, you'll be good.
If he lives, then he gets the belt.
All right. So let me ask this: two-part question? What do you miss the most, and what do you miss the least about your time in the service?
What I miss the most is the guys, and the cool stuff we got to do all the time. Jumping out of planes and rappelling and all that kind of stuff. Shooting, especially the price of ammo now. What I don't miss formations, which you hold formations for pointless announcements like, hey, this is happening and we're going to go.
Just a tedious.
Yeah, we're having a picnic over here. Yeah. In my unit, we held that as a member. We were kind of on our own program, but anyway, those are the couple of things that and my time away from family. That's tough at times.
Yeah.
Especially as my daughter got older, but that's about it.
Cool. So this question.
Music. You said you were going to say music? Is that what you were going to talk about?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm not there yet. Let's talk about it.
So I got a couple songs on Spotify. They've been there for years, if you didn't know.
Of course I knew.
And
they're good jams.
I still write.
Now, were you doing that? When you were off enlisted, did you find time or inspiration, to write during that time, or was it too busy? You didn't have time to do it?
No, I found time. Yeah, I found time. again, it's like, well, it's like anything, like a guy that's taken, that is holding a dream as a profession.
Yeah.
Like you didn't know you were going to open. I mean, I'm sure that you knew you were going to open a school, but when you first started jiu-jitsu,
I just liked it.
you just liked it. You loved it. And you did it every day. And you wanted to do it more. Well, you know what? I can make money at this and make a career out of this. And same thing goes with music or art or acting or whatever. You just fall in love with it so much that you want to do it all the time.
Right.
And that's how it was for me. Like, you know, I had always sang. I sang from the time I was like, I don't know, 8 years old maybe. Is really when I remember.
I was going to ask you that. I didn't know how long. I didn't know when you like found out you had like a good voice.
I sang. I sang Stevie Wonder, the part of Stevie Wonder in "We Are the World" in elementary school, and like parents were like, you know,
he can do it.
He's got something.
Yeah.
And I remember them coming up to my mother and saying, "Man, your little boy's really." Anyway, so that's where it started, and then I was a kid, and I just kind of sang songs every now and then. And then when I got to be in my, I don't know, teens. Oh well, yeah, my teens. I won the talent contest every year that we had one.
Yeah.
And just because I love to sing, and then I started learning guitar, and that's where I started. I had always written poems. My English teachers were always, pretty impressed by my poetry that I would write.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't per se know how to write a song. I just looked at a damn, cover with the lyrics in it and was like, oh, okay, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And then I put it together. And so
I'm sometimes surprised when I hear some, musicians that are just like brilliant. I'm like, they must have like a scientific brain that just has studied all this.
Right.
And it's almost like it's just something kind of innate in you that you love so much that you're gonna make it work and figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And you take little pieces of it, like an A chord, a D chord, and then you put them all together. Man, it took me, I don't know, it probably took me, is it time or not?
It's good.
I think it took me probably a year of playing every day to finally learn to strum the guitar. And then another, I don't know how long, to actually be able to sing and play at the same time. To be able to sing and strum at the same time.
Yeah.
And when I tell you that it just happened one day, it just happened one day. Like there was no progressing of getting a little bit of the song. It was like one day I picked up the guitar, started playing and singing at the same time. And I was like,
but it was the accumulation of all that tedious work.
It's like you talk about, 10,000 repetitions or whatever.
Mm.
It's the same thing, man.
Yeah.
And eventually the two things align. But no, it was just the love of music. I grew up loving all kinds of music too,
I remember a time we were, I think I told you this, but I knew you sang, but I never heard you sing when I think I was maybe 19 or something, and we were all hanging out at the river, Guadalupe River.
Most people will not look at me and go, oh, that guy's a singer.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but but some people say that like I like to sing, but then there's the people that like to karaoke that they're fun, but they're not. I wouldn't listen to them. They're just they're fun, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't know it was a thing, like really a thing you did.
Yeah.
And there was a guy there that you didn't know, but everybody did the rivers hanging out and having fun, and he's playing guitar. But I don't think he really sang.
No.
And you kind of y'all met or whatever. You're like, oh, let me sing. And he was playing Radiohead, "Creep."
Oh yeah,
and there's
that
song. There's a part where it's like he says, "Run, run, run," like
yeah.
And then like I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're singing. I'm like, oh, he's got a great voice. This is nice. And then that part where you have to kind of wail.
You gotta get on it, yeah.
And it's a perfect song, I think, to like showcase your voice because the song before that is soft.
Yeah.
You didn't, it's nice, but then that one part, there's this huge, long, vocal, requirement.
Yeah, it cuts through.
And I felt like everyone on the river, like, just popped up and, like, looked around, including me. I was like, holy shit, like, this guy can sing. And even the guy playing guitar, he just kind of looks at you like where'd he come from? And that was really cool. Not just because I saw your skill, but, like, that was such a in-the-moment moment, you know? I mean, that's got to be great. That's got to feel.
Yeah, great. That was a good. That is a great memory. Yeah, I remember what you're talking about too, and it's funny. I've hit that note all thousands of times. Still can, and but that part of the song, even people that know the song, that's when someone else is singing it, they pause. They go, okay, what's it gonna do?
Yeah, is he gonna make it?
Is he gonna make it?
Yeah.
And then they're like, holy shit, yeah, he made it. So still kind of do the same thing with like Chris Stapleton, if you've ever heard him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's like one of the country artists that I listen to, because I don't really listen to a lot of country.
No.
But he
can
do it, man. He can do it.
He can do it all too.
Yeah.
And he is, and I measure myself against these kind of people. Like, my voice is very versatile. I sing and I write a bunch of different stuff, from alternative, because Radiohead was a big influence, and Radiohead and Chris Cornell, all of Chris Cornell, even Prince. Those are some big influencers in my music, and those influencers change sometimes. And like country is Chris Stapleton, so I measure that's the bar.
Yeah.
And so I'll test myself singing some Chris Stapleton songs, and I seem to do okay.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's
I
pretty
seem
good.
to do okay. I mean, nobody can do what he does, but if you come close, you're doing all right, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I still write. I was gonna make a joke about my guitar player, but I'm gonna leave that out.
Oh, George.
Yeah.
We'll
circle back.
A second one, yeah.
Yeah. So.
So what's it like? Because I remember so back trying to connect the ideas, like when I first started doing jiu-jitsu, it was just like I think I'm gonna do this forever because I love it, and it became something I could actually share with others and do it. But it wouldn't matter if I did it as a career or not. Like I was always gonna do that.
Right. Yeah.
And I think you and I were talking, and I remember reading something that was really fascinating to me, just about human behavior and like history, is that there is evidence of people creating art, like from seashells and things like that predates agriculture. Meaning, we figured out how to express ourselves artistically before we figured out how to feed ourselves
right,
really well.
Yeah.
And I think that's something really unique to just human beings. Is like this need to express ourselves. It's not enough to just like get through the day and have enough money and have enough. It's like, no, I've got to be the thing in me that needs expressing. Right. And so...
And do you think it's also a need to make others happy, like, and maybe a self-worth thing, like, I to get the reaction out of people that you do, and
well, maybe, it might be that, or maybe even you could say, like, it's just...
I think it's both,
It's connecting with people.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of like, like, I don't know what we have in common. I'm going to try some different things and see, where we can connect. Because another thing I was learning is that one of the, we talked about everybody's more connected than ever in terms of social media, but you can make...
And disconnected.
Yeah, you can make an argument that we're lonelier than ever.
Yeah.
And one reason that's interesting is that you can never 100% connect with another human being because no one is you. No one is your clone, right?
Right.
So there's going to be little areas of differences where you're like, oh, you don't quite understand me with the thing I'm saying right now, and I don't quite get you, but we've got to do our best to connect with other people.
Right.
Music is one of those things that it's almost like, kind of like comedy. You take a room full of people that are completely different backgrounds. They may not be friends or whatever.
Right.
But when they hear that emotional expression, they're just staring at it like, oh, we're all kind of feeling the same thing. For this one moment, we are feeling a similar, connection. I think,
Yeah, music is so important. I mean,
Isn't it a strange thing if you think about it? Like,
Yeah.
if you think about, like, why did we create this type of art? Like, where we just take words or sounds and bend them and change them in a way that makes us feel everything imaginable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how it even came about. I'm sure it was a sound of some sort in a rhythmic,
probably like a war
in a
tribe
rhythmic,
type thing.
in a rhythmic pattern. Yeah, and then it makes us feel a certain type of way. And the same thing, and that's also part of the attraction of being a musician is like in some way, especially when I write lyrics. I take a lot of pride in. I think that's really where my talent lies is lyrics, and it's entertaining for me. Like I don't really give any thought to what other people think about the lyric itself.
Right.
But if I write something clever, it's really just to make me laugh and give a chuckle to myself. But
it's like a tattoo.
But then the other thing is like, I wonder how somebody else feels. Are they feeling this same thing?
Yeah.
Are they feeling what I'm saying, what I'm singing, what they're hearing?
Right.
And yeah, we always have music in jiu-jitsu, so
yeah, life's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Well, so remind everybody again, where can they? Hey guys, I'm no joke. I've known this guy for a long time, and again, I think if you look at him, you wouldn't think he could sing. You just think like, yeah, of course he's in the military, of course he does jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But one of the best voices I've ever heard live, and yeah, I'd love for more people to hear it. Where can they find your music?
They can find it on any place you can stream music. There's a million of them. I know Spotify, Pandora, and Apple Music. It's on there. Matt Rawls.
Rawls.
Yeah, there's a couple of songs on there, and they're old. Give me a break, all right? It costs money to record, so and I'm still recording stuff. I'm still. It's something that's never going to go away. Mm-hmm. I'll always do it, and I put out some little videos from home, playing some of my stuff, and mainly to leave a footprint for my daughter, just so she can go and see it, and who knows, maybe remake it. I don't know, but I know that it's there. There's a history of it, and so I continually put out, songs that I've already written or new songs, and that's on Facebook and Instagram. Matt Rawls, same thing. But yeah. That's just something I love to do, like I do jiu-jitsu, man. Jiu-jitsu and music are both therapies for me. Mm-hmm. So like, I can be on my way here and I just really don't feel like it. I don't want to do this today, but I'm going to go anyway. Yeah. Because I know that the end result is going to be like, I'm so glad I did that. Yeah. So
it's like, it is almost like a drug. In terms of how it changes your mind from how you were just moments ago. And I have days like that where I'm just like, man, I want to be alone today. I'm not feeling good. I'm having some, personal issues or whatever. And when I train, it's like my perspective is shifted.
Yeah.
Like, things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
I still have the problems that were making me upset, but I don't feel the weight of those anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Because I've been reminded of how great things are when I'm able to dip into this part of my life.
I don't know if it was a famous athlete or who it was, but they said, might have been Jocko Willing, but it was like, even if you don't feel like doing it, just go in there. Or maybe it was Atomic Habits, that's who it was. It's like, even if you don't feel like doing that thing, go through the motions. Go through that motion.
Yeah.
To have some type of sense of productivity and achievement, so that you have that little win for yourself.
Right.
And that happened the other day. Like I was right there with you, man. I was not feeling mentally stable, mm-hmm. and I was like, let me go. Let me just go do this and feel a little bit better. It always works. Same thing with like playing music. Sometimes is like, I don't feel like doing it, and I know I should write, because I have songs as a songwriter. Sometimes you'll write a song in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll write a song in 5 years.
Yeah.
And you can chip away at that song, but it's just, you can't get to the ending sometimes, and you try to make yourself do it. And no matter what, something always comes out of it. Well, there was 30 minutes that you practiced playing the guitar and got a little bit better, or, you know, got a little bit stronger in some way. So anyway, yeah, go train.
I think that's an awesome way to wrap it up. So appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Check out this man's music, and see you next time. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that, please be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to share this video with somebody else. Thank you.